Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Let me do it in English.
Dank u wel.
We do have the honored guest, the president of the Islamic Development Bank and his team, his delegation to Suriname. Suriname is member of the bank since 1997, so for over 25 years now. And we have benefited, Suriname has benefited from the relation with this bank. It's a development partner. It's not a bank for money, it's a bank for people. It's a bank for people's development. And we have been talking, this is the second time that, that a president of the bank visits Suriname. So we are most honored to have someone who within one day I am inclined to call my good friend, President Dr. Mohammed Suleiman, to welcome him in Suriname as our guest at the Ministry of Finance and Planning, to welcome him as a guest of Suriname, not only the ministry but also of the country, and to thank the bank for the cooperation, for which goes far beyond money, far beyond banking. We have had several projects, and we have projects already that are being implemented. One is with the University Hospital Paramaribo. We know that, I think in 2014 we started with that, and we started that on the wrong foot. And so the bank assisted in doing the better preparation of that project. We are foreseeing the end of the preparation stage, and after that we will see indeed the start, the right start of the project of implementing the rehabilitation of the University Hospital, the Academisch Ziekenhuis Paramaribo. So that's going well. Another one that's going well is, you might have seen that today and you will see that tomorrow, is education. One in Mungotapu and the other tomorrow in Para. Both financed by the bank. We have a program, the Affordable Housing Program, for a value of $35 million US, which has delays. We just visited the president of the country and we discussed this project. We discussed also what to do to make sure that we start the right way with that project and get rid of the delays and really start implementation of the project that will provide solutions to our country. There's another project that has been started, and that is pineapple production, and an integrated project on pineapple. That's about $2.5 million US, and there is another one that talks about electricity supply and the improvement of the whole facility in Paramaribo and in Ikeri for $41 million. That is an old project, but it is being redrafted, and the adjusted draft is submitted to the bank and will be decided upon. We foresee no problems there, and so what we can say in conclusion is that there are projects that are doing well with the bank. There are projects in the pipeline that are coming on, but we are also looking for future cooperation. And we are talking about cooperation because Saudi Arabia, where this bank is established and where our friend is, the president is coming from, is one of the strategic countries in the world that has played an exemplary role when it comes to the strategic role of oil and gas. And we are at the verge of investing in oil and gas. So we can learn a lesson or two from Saudi Arabia, but also from this bank that can be valuable. And those lessons are not from textbooks. Those are lessons by experience. So I invited our friend, I requested him to please share a couple of these lessons with us about how to protect when you earn a lot of money from oil and gas, how you protect that and make sure that it works for all of the people. That he was with the IMF and one of the, in the management, in the top of the IMF, what he learned from that and what it is we can learn from him in that respect. So what he brings to the table today is far beyond money. Because when we talked today with him in the Ministry of Finance, of course we talked about projects and money. But that was not the main part of it. The main part was development and people. The main part was governance and making sure that when there is progress, when there is oil, when there is gas, when there are investments, how to put them to work for the peoples of this country. What the Islamic Development Bank did bring to the table today was so much more, was far beyond funding and money. So I thank my good friend, Mohammed Suleiman, for the good cooperation that we have cherished for 25 years, but also from the wisdom he brought to the table today and we can benefit from. So I think I will leave it at that.
Thank you very much for a short and clear overview of what the relations between the Islamic Development Bank and Suriname has been up until now. May I invite His Excellency Mr. Suleiman for his short briefing on his impressions of Suriname and of course the results of the talks that have been today.
Thank you. Thank you, Odette. And thank you. I don't think we're just friends now. I think we're brothers. So if you don't mind, I'll call you Stanley. And I felt most welcome since I touched the land of this beautiful country of yours. It may be small in numbers, may be small in size, but it's big in terms of its ambitions, and it's bigger in terms of its potential, particularly its human capital. People I have met with have given me a lot of hope that even if we make mistakes here and there, we can always recover and do much better. And this is what I have noticed. I was very happy to see the conclusion of the third review of your program with the IMF. And as you mentioned, yes, I was executive director at the IMF, so I know the agonies that countries have to go through in order to fulfill the requirements of completing a review of a program. Nonetheless, as painful as it is a certificate. It is a certification that the country has embarked on a sustainable macroeconomic path. And as difficult as that may be, it is a very important element of moving forward because investors get their signals from such certification. And I'm not talking about international investors, even domestic investors, because that means the monetary and the fiscal and the structural elements of economic policy are well aligned, well orchestrated, and are set to achieve the goals of economic policy. So congratulations on that. And as to the Islamic Development Bank, I think you have said most of what I would want to say, except to say that we in the Islamic Development Bank, we are in the business of development. I mean, the word bank may be even a misnomer. We are dedicated to maximize development among the membership and the citizens. We have about 1.5 billion Muslims around the world that we try to help. Of course, that's a huge order for us to be able to do it. But more importantly, when we finance a project in a country, the Muslims will benefit, but just as importantly, their neighbors of non-Muslims benefit equally. There is no differentiation whatsoever when we finance projects in any country, in any community, because we are dedicated to the service of humanity. We're not just dedicated to the service of Muslims. Humanity is what we care about. And this is very well ingrained in the culture, in the corporate culture of the Islamic Development Bank, and I am determined to ensure that it stays that way for eternity, inshallah. The projects that we have financed, that the minister mentioned, are all about the well-being of the citizens of the country. It's all about human capital. Human capital, what do they need for a decent life? A shelter, so that's housing. Education, today the President of the Republic inaugurated one, and tomorrow together we will inaugurate another one we financed. And then you have the third project is on
Healthcare?
in the healthcare, yes. I mean, you know, if a citizen is not healthy, he or she is no good for anything because they cannot contribute their potential. They cannot use their potential to help themselves, their families, and their community. So those three really summarize what it is that we in the Islamic Development Bank focus on. I have visited many countries, for example, in Africa, and I have seen how transformational some of our projects, even if they were small. I was in the Gambia, and the president tells me, Muhammad, look, these two towns, and the Gambia is a small country to start with. He said, those two towns, it used to take us 12 hours by car to get from one town to the other. You gave us that loan, we built a road, now it takes only 4 hours. He said, you just imagine how transformational it is for the quality of life of our citizens just to build that. Dakar, Senegal, crowded, people can't get anywhere to anywhere, from anywhere to anywhere. We helped finance a metro. For the first year, the metro carried 17 million people in the city of Dakar alone. The whole country is 17 million people. It reached the level where they started rationing who can board. From each station, they only allowed 50 people to board. Because if they opened it for everybody, the first station will fill up the metro. There will be no space for people waiting in the second station, third station, fourth station. Only last month, we approved an expansion of that metro. So imagine again, what is that going to do to the lives of people who don't have cars, don't even have scooters to get anywhere? What will that do for their lives? I was in Indonesia. There was a slum rehabilitation program that the government, a very enlightened government, had put together. We took part in that. We took a segment of it. It was villages of fishermen and their families. Well, pollution of the water coming from the ocean killed all the fish. So their livelihood was killed. And they were living in slums, really primitive slums. So we came and we discussed with the Indonesian authorities, and they have discovered that a plant called mangrove actually eats, if you will, the pollution. So we planted mangrove trees along the channels that come from the ocean to the villages, and then a couple of months, the water was clean, the fish was back. So life and livelihood was back. We demolished the old slums. We rebuilt, very simple, but at least they have a bathroom and a kitchen. And I visited them. I couldn't stop crying because all the old ladies were looking like if we were angels that came from the sky. These are the types of projects that we look for at the Islamic Development Bank. We feel for the basic needs, basic human needs of the beneficiaries, and we go and try to help. Not always successful, so don't misunderstand me, that we're not perfect. We have our own failures, just like any other human being, but we try our utmost to find those projects with the highest value added to the community, and especially to those least able of our community. So in the Islamic Development Bank, we value the relationship with Suriname, and we want to enhance our cooperation. We want to help expedite the development and deepen the development of the country. Particularly, as I mentioned earlier, I've discovered you have quite an impressive human capital base. You can be the health tourism hub of the whole Central America and the Caribbean. You can export doctors and nurses and medical technologists to these areas for them to work, to help, and to make remittances, and to develop, to come back and build hospitals and do all of the good things that good citizens are capable of if they are given the opportunity, and particularly if the nation had given them that good education. And that's why we wanted to be involved in that educational hospital, because it will help graduate and train more doctors, more nurses, more medical technologists. And of course, you have the Amazons. I mean, you are the nation that is negative carbon emitter. You know, you produce more oxygen than you're producing CO2. You're doing great, and also with oil and gas having been discovered, I think it will be very important to manage it well for the future generations of this nation. And even though I know you have some Dutch connections, so some of them are good, but stay away from the Dutch disease, because that could kill you. Those who understand the economics of it, because no pun was meant. And really make sure that the oil company is so well ring-fenced from any political and other interferences. This is very important, because this is the jewel of the crown, and you want it to be respected not only by the citizens of the country, but by all international investors outside, because it tells them a lot about the nation and how it's managed and how its corporate governance is done. The same thing, I would say, for the central bank, because that's another institution that very few people understand. You need to ring fence it, make sure that it sets monetary policy based on the real needs of the economy, and not to give misleading impressions about the value of the currency or the value of the interest rate or what have you. So you have a lot going for you. We're here to help. We're here to learn, but also to help. So, Mr. Minister, I really wish you, and the President was so gracious. He gave us a lot of time of his heart and mind, and I just hope that all of these dreams will be realized sooner rather than later, because every nation, every people deserve something better, especially if God has bestowed them with such endowments like you have in this country. So thank you very much, Mr. Minister. I wish you all the best, and I wish your country all the best, and I'm very optimistic about the future of this country.
Thank you very much for your gracious words. I think I see the minister nodding, so I think that we agree, and I'm sure that we appreciate, definitely. I'm now directing my attention to the members of the press. Is er iemand die een vraag zou willen stellen? Graag in de microfoon hiervoor, zodat het ook in de live-uitzending van ATV te horen is voor de kijkers en de luisteraars. Natuurlijk uw naam, het medium en aan wie u uw vraag wil richten. Mag in het Nederlands, dan help ik vertalen. Dat mag.
Okay. Well, I'll try in English. Good afternoon.
Great. Thank you. Good afternoon.
My name is Annelies Brinkman. I'm from the Netherlands, but I'm living in Suriname for 14 years already. So
Lucky you.
yeah, thank you. Maybe it's a little bit, well, not out of order, but I'm really interested in if there are, how many people are already in the, well, ik ga het toch in het Nederlands even doen,
Ga je
meneer
gang.
Rambassen.
Ja.
De speciale leningstelsel van de Islamic Development Bank. Hoe noem je dat ook alweer? Dus ik ben benieuwd of er nu al veel ondernemers zijn die via de Islamic Development Bank, die financiering, en hoe dat gaat. Want het is toch net een beetje anders dan we gewend zijn.
Okay. The question is, she would like to know how many people are making use of the way that the Islamic Development Bank is designing their finances. How many people are using it now? And can you explain a little bit about the system? Because it's a different system than what we're used to in our banking system.
De echte ondernemers, de kleine ondernemers.
Are there small entrepreneurs also making use of the funds that are available from the Islamic Development Bank? So that's
Excellent
two
question.
questions.
Excellent question. Islamic finance is not much different from conventional finance. The only difference is that it has to be based on equity. So you don't go money for money, but equity for money, in the sense that when you borrow against an asset, a real asset. And this helps reduce any speculative bubbles that you may have when it's just cash against cash. That is the most important difference. Other than that, we do everything that commercial banks do, and there is also the cost is non-usurious in the sense that it is only what the sukuk, which is similar to bonds that we issue to finance our operations, and we only put the margin which is for the salaries of our people, and that's it. So we don't take any profits at all, and therefore the cost of borrowing, if you were to go to a commercial bank or to the Islamic Development Bank, of course it will be much, much lower. We have programs to lend women and young people who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs, and we do it in urban areas or even in pastoral areas. I was in northern Nigeria, and we had a program where we were helping women who want to be entrepreneurs. So we're helping them get goats and start their own herds, so they become herders in their own right. So that is very important for us also. These are all small businesses that really keep families together.
I think Ms. Brinkman wants to know if there are also small entrepreneurs in Suriname being supported by the bank. Yeah?
Hoeveel zijn er al?
Not yet, but that's one thing that the government can ask for. We can extend lines of credit that will be dedicated to small entrepreneurs. That is available, but it hasn't yet been requested. As you know, we have, as the minister mentioned, we've had projects almost $250 million. So we have been busy with these programs, but we finished a lot of them. We have 3 going. When we finish those also, then we can do more for the smaller entrepreneurs also.
Okay. Wie mag ik de volgende vraag? Meneer Cairo. Alsjeblieft naar de microfoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm from Cairo from the Waarheid. The question I have is for both gentlemen. Minister, you have mentioned the AMC project that started on the wrong foot, you said. I would like to know, now there are discussions to revitalize this program. What are the safeguards and guarantees that this time around we start at the right note And the first project was listed for $70 million. How much will it cost now, and when will we see the start? And the second question is, Mr. Suleiman, you mentioned the transport projects in other countries. Is there any talks with the government to look into also transportation and on the other infrastructure project in Suriname? Thank you.
Dank u wel.
The,
Misschien de vraag over AZ eerst beantwoorden?
Yes.
Ja?
the reason why the project on the University Hospital started on the wrong foot was in the preparation of the project. There were difficulties in the preparation stage, and in fact, in the end, the whole preparation was considered, well, let me not say failed, but not adequate enough to proceed. So, with technical assistance from the bank, we started the preparation the way it should be done. So, it is doing good. It's making progress. We are seeing. We had a wonderful presentation by the Minister of Health this morning, and it was backed by the team of my friend. That soon, I think this year or next year, the project proposal will be on the table, and we will be able to take a decision on that. I'm not quite sure what the amount of investment it is we are talking about, but it will be at least at what it was. But more important than that is that we talked about when we make investments of these amounts, we have to take care also for management and sustainability. Make sure that once you put the project in place, that you in advance also during the planning stage think about how to manage it, that it can serve the population for a very long period of time at adequate quality, and how to make it sustainable. And cost recovery is part of that thinking. So I must say that we were, all of us, including our friends from the bank, we were on the same spot in those terms. But we can foresee that, I think that between now and a year, the preparation will be finalized and will be in a decision stage. I think that the start of the implementation is projected for, I think, the first half of 25. I thought that I saw that. And if not, it must be earlier. But it's on the right track. We are very positive about it now. It takes time, but it's not a small project. It's quite big, and it's quite important. So we must make sure that we take time. When it sits there, once it sits there, we must make sure that people can benefit from it for a very long period of time in a good way.
Okay, the second question was regarding if there are any requests from the Surinamese government regarding transportation support.
There hasn't been in the past program that we had with the government, but this is coming to a close, and now we're embarking on discussions for the next program that we will be doing with Suriname, and I will be surprised if there aren't any that are in the transport sector. But I want to emphasize also, this is one of the differences between, let's say, the Islamic Development Bank and other institutions. We start from where the governments end. We don't go and intrude and say, oh, you should have this, or you should do that, or anything. No, we go, and when they have a plan and they're finished, we go and discuss it with them and see what we can do, what can we help with. And that is why the Islamic Development Bank, I always say that it is of the South, from the South, for the South. Because this is the only large multilateral development institution that doesn't have the Americans, the Europeans, the big guns as members. I have nothing against them, but we are totally 100% South-to-South institution. And that's why we care so much about South-South cooperation also. There is a lot of work that we are doing. We call them reverse linkages, and we call them South-South cooperation. And we're doing a lot of work because we want the South to help itself also, share the knowledge between the South and South institutions. And we have found a lot of good things. I mean, one of the programs we have that is connected to South-South cooperation is the Avoidable Blindness Program. In West Africa, that's a very prevalent issue. So we have, from the South, countries where there are ophthalmologists that are donating their time to go and do operations in West Africa. What we do, we take care of the logistics and bring them somewhere where they operate. So one, they take care of the problem of this person and avoid, therefore, blindness. Second, the local doctors, if there are local doctors, are learning, practicing through that. And you know, there is something that I didn't know, and that is really disheartening. I heard that in parts of the world, and here in Africa, if a family has a blind person, they will attach a young girl to that person so they don't fall, because they don't have the instruments that blind people have. So what happens is that this poor girl is attached to this person if this person is blind. And therefore, if we cure that person's blindness, then we will have saved two people, not just one person. Very touching stories. Only if you go to the field would you learn about them. They remain hidden from the world, unfortunately. Our job is to try to change that. And we're proud of what we do. It may not attract the big institutions like other, but we are happy to be involved in that, and we will do our utmost to help. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate this opportunity. I'm sorry that the time has taken us, but everybody has been generous. The President, the Minister, the Vice Speaker of the Parliament, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Housing. We've had a lot of discussions today. Of course, the staff of the ministry, and it has been an eye-opening experience, and I look forward to seeing the fruits of this hard work, inshallah.
Thank you very much, His Excellency Sulaiman, en of course de minister, Raghuvarshin. Hiermee zijn we aan het einde gekomen van deze persbriefing. Hartelijk bedankt voor jullie aanwezigheid. Natuurlijk ATV voor de live-uitzending, want dat brengt de boodschap direct naar de mensen toe. En we hebben de gasten nog 2 dagen in Suriname. Er zullen morgen ook nog persmomenten zijn waarbij de gemeenschap meer geïnformeerd wordt over wat de Islamic Development Bank allemaal aan het doen is in Suriname. Hartelijk bedankt voor uw aandacht, bijdrage en natuurlijk de ondersteuning van alle teams hier in de Kamer aanwezig. Thank you so much. Enjoy your stay in Suriname. They will bring you through the ringer for the next 2 days, but I hope you will enjoy it. I'm sure of it.
I'm already enjoying it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.